Hey guys, welcome to Farm Charm Chic. I'm Emily. Today I have some farmhouse pumpkin DIYs that will be so fun for your house for fall. I hope you enjoy them. I am also doing a collaboration with Sandra from the Schwoen's Nest, and I will explain more about that in a little while. I would also love if you would consider subscribing to my channel if you like what you see, and if you do like this video, remember to hit that thumbs up button. But let's get started. I have these 3 pumpkins that came from Dollar Tree, and these 2 pumpkins have these little burlap, like printed burlap things on the front of them. So I am just going to take those off to complete my project here. And to cover up the space where I took that off, I am just going to kind of run my finger around some craft paper to get a template. And I'm going to cut that out, and then I just use some glue stick and some hot glue to kind of cover that up to make it look a little bit more nice, a little bit more high end. For this bigger pumpkin, I'm going to use this in the middle of these 3 pumpkins. So I am painting it just a white color. I believe it's just plaster from Waverly, but any color that you want to do your pumpkins in to match your decor. Most of my DIYs this fall have been the moss Waverly chalk paint color, the pumpkin Waverly chalk paint color, and then plaster in Waverly chalk paint. So when I get to the top of this, I realize that it has this little hole in there, like where a little twine string went. So I do use just some spackle to put in there to kind of cover that up, let that dry and sand it off, paint it over to kind of make it look like it's all one piece and that's not even there. So using those paint colors that I mentioned there, I'm going to paint one pumpkin with the moss color, and then I will paint the other pumpkin with the pumpkin color. I then go back in and I will do my stems. I will do green stems on my orange and white pumpkin and a brown stem on my green pumpkin. Apparently, before I paint my stems, I'm going to go in and I do want these little raised areas on this center pumpkin to show up and have a lot of depth and dimension. And so I do go in with that antiquing wax on just a little teeny brush, and I go around the edges of all of these little raised areas. So that way it kind of defines them a little bit more. So from far away, you can see that they're there. You wouldn't have to do this. It's just, it makes them pop a little bit more. I also go around the whole edge of the pumpkin to do that on all of the edges. All right, here's where I go in and paint the stem of my pumpkin. So again, I do 2 green stems, and then you'll see me in a minute do a brown stem on my green pumpkin. So I do go around the edge of these with a little bit of antiquing wax. I just really like the definition that this provides. This is completely optional. I just like the way that it looks. You could even go in and do a little bit more definition on the pumpkin, give it kind of its round ridges. I don't really know what those little bumps on the pumpkins are called. If you know, let me know. But I am putting some words on these, so I'm just leaving them more blank in the center so those words pop. Hobby Lobby has these wooden words in their fall section this year. They say grateful, thankful, and blessed. You get like 3 of each, I believe, 2 or 3 of each in the package, and they are just a couple of dollars. It's a really good deal, I feel. And I've used them a lot, so I really have gotten my money's worth out of them. But I do cover these up with the white chalk paint. You could do them in any color that you want. A stained wood would look good. I just wanted that white to pop really well off of the orange and the green and have it tie into that middle pumpkin. I am just using some Gorilla Super Glue here, and I will just place those letters down. I don't measure things a lot, so if you want to measure them to get them a little bit more centered or straight, definitely do that. I'm kind of more of a eyeball it type of gal. So again, I just kind of glue these, stick them into as close to center as I get them, and call it good. On my cutting machine, I cut out an ampersand. I do know they sell different styles of wood cutout ampersands at Walmart for I think like $1.97 or something. So that would be an alternative that you could do. You could even freehand one on there or print one out and cut it, decoupage it on there. A lot of different ways that you can do that to kind of make it if you don't have a cutting machine. I'm going over it with a little bit of the plaster chalk paint to dull down the glossiness of the vinyl because I don't think the glossiness really is all I had, and it didn't really fit with the whole project, so that's why I did that. And then I'm just going to glue the center pumpkin to the other two. So these other two pumpkins have that little stand on the bottom of them, so that will act as the stand that will hold the whole sign up. And you can just see I'm just kind of eyeballing it there, getting it to look good. Guys, look at how cute this looks. I'm so excited for this one. So I'm taking some raffia that I have and I'm just tying two little raffia bows. I'm just kind of cutting them down and sizing them as best I can to make sure that they kind of match the size of the pumpkins to how I want it to look. This is probably my most favorite project I've created all season. I love how this turned out. And really, it was like less than $4. What do you guys think of this one? Today's collaboration is with Sandra from the Chihuahuan's Nest. Sandra is another farmhouse DIYer here on YouTube, and she is absolutely amazing. Here are a few of her more recent projects, and I absolutely love them. She has such a beautiful way of displaying all of her projects, and also just a beautiful way that she creates. I love her projects. In my description box, I'm going to leave a link to her video that she is also doing today that has fall farmhouse DIYs in it. So click on that, show her some love, like her video. If you haven't subscribed to her, consider doing that, and let her know that Emily from Farm Charm Chic sent you over to her channel. Sandra, thank you so much for collabing with me today. Have you seen these pumpkins at Dollar Tree? They're so cute and they have the little metal letters on them, but you can see when you take them off, they've kind of put a little bit of shadowing on there. So I don't want that because I'm going to change the words that I want on my pumpkin. So I'm just painting it with some pumpkin chalk paint, and then I'm going to put a little bit of definition in here with my antiquing wax. You can see I just kind of put a little bit on the edge of my sponge brush and kind of just copy that curvature. And then I'm going around the edge of the pumpkin here, and then to dull that down a little bit so it's not so harsh, I do go back over it with a little bit of the pumpkin chalk paint. And then I'm just painting my stem in the moss color with chalk paint here. What I'm doing with this project is I'm going to use it in a wreath. So I am using some of this 6-foot garland and then some picks that I found at Hobby Lobby. Now, my pumpkin is going to sit off to the side on my wreath form that I got from Dollar Tree there. And so my garland only needs to go around like 3/4 of the form, if that makes sense. So I'll kind of show you here that I set it to the point where my pumpkin would stop, and this is a 6-foot garland, like I said, and so it will double up. So as it gets around to the next pot, I will take the other half of it and curve it back around. And so this is what's going to give a very thick look to your wreath. Now, I was looking at wreaths at Hobby Lobby the other day, and like wreaths that were this full were upwards of like $150. Now, granted, they have their 40% off on fall, but still, that's a lot of money. I don't want to spend that much on a wreath that I'm going to use for a month, maybe 2 months. So I'm just zip tying this on. I do the top portion of the garland all the way around. I zip tie it where there's a little break in the wreath form that I can go around. And then I do that second layer, the same thing. Just go around zip tying it so it's not going everywhere. I got these zip ties at Dollar Tree. So you get in there in the automotive section. So if you're looking for zip ties, there's a little package that comes with black and red ones. So I just use all the black ones. So you can see how my pumpkin will fit in there. I'm just checking to make sure how good that looks. And then what I do is before I zip tie any of these in, I stick them all in and make sure that they're placed where I want them to be and the spacing's all correct. So I have 6 picks that have like berries or pumpkins on them, so like 3 of each. And then I believe I have 3 or 4 of the hydrangeas, and I just kind of go in between and just make a little pattern. Now, these little hydrangeas, I just wrap that wire stem around to hook those in because those are not going anywhere. And I did not show me zip tying the other things in because my head was in the way completely as I was filming. So I thought you'd enjoy looking at the wreath, not my head. But I just zip tied all of those into wherever there was a wire next to them, the little picks. And then you can see I'm just bending the pick part here in or wrapping it around a wire if I can to give it some extra stability. Look at how full this looks. I think this is so pretty. And I just go back in and cut all the backs off of the zip ties here. And now on my cutting machine, I did cut out Hello Pumpkin, and I do use a little bit of painter's tape if your mat loses some stickiness. Somebody told me a baby wipe might work too. So you could go ahead and put the words back on. That looks so cute if you don't have a cutting machine or you don't want to take the time to do this. I just really, since it's my front door wreath, I wanted it to say hello on it. So I thought Hello Pumpkin would be really cute to do. So I'm just going to weed this out, and I want it to kind of look galvanized because I did like the look of the galvanized words. So I kind of lightly tap over with a stencil brush with Silver Lining and Elephant were the 2 colors of chalk paint that I kind of go back and forth. And I just want to let you know that from my front door when I'm standing there in person, it totally looks galvanized. Like you would have to get right up next to it. It doesn't come across on camera as well as I had hoped. But I kind of, after I got all of this done right here, I was like, this is all going to stick to the transfer tape and it's going to get all over my pumpkin. Like I started to panic a little bit. It didn't. Like I did use a little bit of a Q-tip and a baby wipe to kind of go in and clean up the negative space there. So that way when I put my transfer tape down, it didn't pick all of that paint up. So I did that as best as I could and kind of thought, well, we'll hope for the best. It totally worked out just fine. One trick that I did with this is I placed my transfer tape on my table so I knew that it wasn't going anywhere, and then I just used my fingers down below to move my pumpkin around to center it. So if that makes sense, hopefully, but that's kind of a way to help get things centered. And I, again, just eyeballed it as best I could, and I just think, look at how good that looks. And like I say, on camera, it doesn't look so much like galvanized metal, but in person, guys, like it really does. Like it looks so good. So I do just go in here and I have a crocodile that I cut a couple of holes in the top and bottom to zip tie this on. You would not have to do that. You could easily hot glue this in. You could easily punch a hole in it with like a nail and a hammer or something to zip tie down at the bottom or something like that. There's a lot of different ways to get that affixed to it. And then I take just a couple little loose leaves to kind of cover those zip ties so that way you're not going to see them. It's not going to come off of there. And then you can kind of see up on the right hand side of the top of my pumpkin, it was a little bare. So I'm just going to come and glue. And I just honestly turned my wreath over and picked a couple of leaves from the back to do this with. So stinking cute. I love this wreath. Guys, this easily would have been over $100 at Hobby Lobby the way that their wreaths were priced. And I mean, I probably spent a little bit, probably less than 30 on it, and it's homemade. It's going to last me years and years. I love this. You can go over with decoupage on your pumpkin to seal it, but what do you think of this one? I love it. Don't forget that I'm on Instagram also. I love to meet new Insta friends, so I would love for you to come over and say hi, check out my page, and see all the latest projects that I'm working on. I'll be sure and leave a link down in my description box so you can easily find me. So for this project, I'm taking some painter sticks and I am measuring them out for how long I want to cut them. So I'm making some kind of like crate pumpkins, and you can see that I have like 4 sticks in some, 5 sticks in some, just kind of depends on the size I want my pumpkin. But you can cut it down with a miter saw. Somebody pointed out to me that this is a miter saw, which I thought, since it fit on my table, that I just called it a table saw, but it is a miter saw. But you can use a hand one or an electric one, power tool, whatever you've got. And I'm just going to put a little popsicle stick in between each of these to create that little crate type of look. And then I just take another little piece that I have cut down, and put that on the back to make a little pallet. You could probably even use just pallet signs from Dollar Tree, but I wanted these different sizes. So now I'm going to measure around each of them because I want to make it a box. So I am going to cut the little sizes on my painter sticks down to match the size on the box. And by taping these sticks together, they cut super fast and super easy. So that was kind of a good idea to do that. So try that if you're cutting lots of painter sticks together. So I'm just going to super glue the sides onto all of these little boxes here. They just look like little, I guess, pallet crates or pallet. I don't even know, but I just thought they looked really cute and thought it was such a fun idea and the three-dimensional look to them. So I'm going to paint them in the three colors that I have been using most of the season, and that is the moss, pumpkin, and plaster. Actually, I don't think I use plaster now that I say that. It's the pumpkin and the moss in Waverly chalk paint, and then I think I use mineral on this pumpkin right here. So I absolutely think that that color matches so well. I take a little detail brush to go in between to make sure that I get all that little spaces, and also in the corners like on the back and stuff, you'll just need a little detail brush. Spray paint would probably work great too if you wanted to do that. Sometimes you just don't have, you know, like orange spray paint on hand. So if you do, then great. And you can do them whatever colors would match your decor also. So this is just a little handle off of a little sponge brush, and I thought it would work perfect for the stems. The Dollar Tree handles are a little bit bigger than like ones you get on Amazon or Hobby Lobby. So I was just showing you the size difference there. So I just cut a couple of them in half. So I have 3 stems for my pumpkins. And I'm just using a little bit of sandpaper. I use a nail file to kind of soften those edges so they're not so sharp where you cut them. And I'm going to do 2 green stems and then 1 stem with my antique Waverly wax. Now this would be completely optional, but I do like to distress a lot of things. If you've been here before, you know that about me, that I do love distressing. So I just go through with my little emery board and just kind of especially go over like the edges and things. And then I also take a little bit of antiquing wax and kind of just make these have a little bit of weathered look to them. So I go around all of the edges, concentrating kind of on the corners and on the slats in between. My orange one, I went a little heavy with the antiquing wax because I liked the contrast with that color. So again, this step is completely optional, but I really do like the way that it looks. Using a combination of wood glue and hot glue for that short-term, long-term hold, I glue on all 3 of the stems onto the pumpkin. So the handle that I used for this smaller pumpkin was one of the thinner handles, so it's a little bit slimmer, I guess you would say, on the handle. Excuse me, on the pumpkin stem. And so here I'm gluing my last one on, and then I just take some raffia and I just tie that onto, I just slip it on. So I started tying it, slipped it onto the stem, and then just kind of crinkled it up, cut it to size however I wanted it to make it look really good. You could even do just a bow, you could do burlap ribbon, customize it to what you like. I just really like the way that the raffia looked on here. Here are my pallet, crate, whatever you want to call them, pumpkins. I love how these turned out. And if you notice, I did one of them with the slats going sideways, where the other 2, the slats are going up. I just like the contrast of that. I thought these were super cute. It took 3 packages of paint sticks was all, so $3 for these pumpkins. I hope that you enjoyed all of these fun pumpkin DIYs. I would like to know down in the comments what your favorite one was out of all of these. I think, actually, I would have a hard time choosing. I said that the Thankful and Blessed was my favorite, but honestly, like that wreath just has my heart. And those little crate pumpkins are so cute. And I just love them all. So you'll have to let me know what you guys think. Also, I want to thank Sandra from the Chihuahuan's Nest for collabing with me today. Don't forget to check out her video. The link is down in my description box, and tell her hello. And until next time, guys, remember to be safe, be smart, be nice, be happy. Choose to have a good day because you are amazing. Thanks, guys. We'll see you next time. If you enjoyed the video that you just saw, here's another one that you might enjoy. And as always, remember to like and subscribe. Thanks so much for watching and have an amazing day.